Tell your story.
Change the conversation.
Organized by students.
TEDxYouth at SHC.
At 18 years old, I can pinpoint 2 seminal moments in my life that define how I view the world, how I choose to interact with others. One occurred when I was 5 years old, and the other this past summer. Both transformed me as a sister, friend, student, and leader. The first time I met my brother, I walked into the orphanage in Russia not knowing what to expect. When I first laid eyes on him, he was sitting on an overstuffed couch wearing red corduroy tights and a green plaid button-down. Mirrors covered the walls, paint peeling, little more than a piano in the corner, and a few toys scattered around. I knew from that moment that I wanted to be his sister. I simply can't explain it, but to this day, more than 10 years later, I remember what it felt like to see him for the very first time. I guess that's what you'd call love at first sight. We became fast friends. By the end of the first day, we were reading books together, assembling puzzles, and running around. Yet we hadn't said a word to each other because we couldn't speak the same language. After a week, we brought him back to our apartment for 10 days, and I remember being completely fascinated by him. He would be playing or talking to himself because we couldn't understand him, yet we felt so totally connected. Really quickly, we did everything together. We took baths together, we had dance parties together, and we even woke up on Easter morning with matching bunny rabbits. Laying eyes on him was my first vivid memory, and it was also the first time I realized that love can cross barriers. From that moment, I unwittingly committed myself to making an impact through friendship and love. Fast forward 11 years, and I'm stepping foot in another orphanage, this time in Kenya. Ever since I was in middle school, returning to an orphanage was important to me. It's hard to describe how much I grew over the years with my brother, but I realized that I gained confidence in my ability to be a friend. I knew that was how I could make a difference. Somehow, I ended up at the Lord's House of Hope, which is an orphanage on the outskirts of Nairobi. I packed a duffel bag full of art supplies and hopped on a flight to Kenya with high hopes and my adventurous spirit. I'll be honest, I had no idea what I was doing. I was ready to dive into the unknown, but all I could draw from was my experience with my brother. My toolkit consisted of this knowledge: having someone in your corner, someone there for you, can really make a difference. As I stood on a moonlit balcony, just hours after arriving in Nairobi, a crack of light stretched across the grass below until the entire yard was bathed in a yellow glow. A stream of bodies poured from the open doorway, and little footsteps pattered up the stone stairs, coming to a stop once they reached the top. I had no idea what I was supposed to do. The house father introduced them to me, so I kind of waved, and after a moment, one little boy named Emmanuel came up and gave me a hug. I was struck by how such a young child could hug a complete stranger with such love and affection. Soon after, he ran away, but then every other child came up, one by one, to give me a hug. I had never felt so welcomed or so instantly at home in my entire life. I felt valued, and they didn't even know me. But the moment also felt familiar. A thought popped into my head. I had been here before. As much as the situation was foreign, I now realized all I needed to do was exactly what I had already done before: love. I had done it with my brother, and I would do it again with these children. In the weeks that followed, I was able to connect with the children at the Lord's House of Hope through clapping games I learned, books I read aloud, art projects I led, and dance parties, which I brought from my own family. Every day at 3:15 p.m., I sat on the edge of a bench, my fingers clasped around the rough wooden panels in excitement, because this was my favorite part of every day, our little ritual as the youngest ones came home from school. I sat on the bench with the gate in view, waiting for the telltale rumbling of tires on uneven dirt roads. It was like clockwork. One by one, the children came up and hugged me with the word sasa, which means hello in Swahili. Poa, I would reply, meaning I'm well. I had a moment with each child to welcome them home, to show how much I cared, because so many words can be encapsulated into one hug. Each moment reaffirmed that not only through words can we express our emotions, but we can do so through physical connection. We can truly impact people by being there by their side. No matter how old you are, you can always have that same experience of making friends really fast as you did when you were younger. Because as long as you show up and want to be there as a friend with no expectations to uphold, you can love and accept people for who they are and where they come from. Our world would be a much better place if we were conscious about the little things that we can do to make people feel like we're there for them, that we're supportive and empathetic towards them. If we have dialogue between people of different races, ethnicities, religions, or sexual orientations, we would have a much more compassionate world. We'd be able to step away from the preconceived notions we have of others and live in the moment with the shared experiences that we have. Twice, I traveled halfway around the world to learn a lesson that applies to the here and now. We all need a little love, and with the privilege of experience comes the responsibility of passing it on. Be conscious about the little things that you can do to connect with others. Every action and word counts. So it's time to focus on compassion, because we can truly change the world with it. Thank you.